everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make this little lawn fawn card, but I also want to mention that if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you a couple different versions of this same card. We're going to start off using this road border die set. We're going to be using this one here with the stitched border on each side, but we're going to use it to make some stitch panels on our card. And we're also going to use the brand new Spring Fling paper pack from Lawn Fawn. We're going to be using these two blue tones, the floral and the kind of like dotted blue. And we're going to line up this road die right along the floral and then again on the dotted pattern. And we're going to create these little wavy panels. And they're going to have a stitched edge on both sides. You can see that there. So I'm going to go ahead and line it up again, and I'll do about 3 or 4 of each of the colors. I'm just taping it down with a little purple tape, and I'm running that through. So now I have all of my panels cut, and we're going to alternate them every other one. And you can see I have quite a bit of paper left. So now using the small stitched rectangle stackable dies, I'm going to take the largest one. And first I'm going to cut a panel out of some lighter weight cardstock. I'm using a 65-pound cardstock because once we layer up the other papers on this, we're going to be die cutting it again, and I just don't want it to get too thick. So I'm going to run this through. It will create that little stitch border, but it's not going to matter because, like I said, we're going to run that through again in a minute here. So now using my glue tube from Lawn Fawn, I'm going to apply glue to each of these panels. And I do try to stay away from the stitched portion a little bit because sometimes it seeps through that little stitched area. And then I'm just going to place each of these down. And again, I'm going to alternate my colors and do the floral and then the blue and then the floral and so on till I completely fill this panel. And you just want to make sure, the reason I'm using glue is to make sure that I can slide them right up next to each other. I don't want a gap in between. I want to make sure they butt up against each other. So there you can see I have all the panels on, and I'm just releasing it from my glass mat there a little bit. And then I'm going to grab my mixed media scissors from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to trim off all that excess. So I'm just trimming right up to the edge of that border there. So you can see that I have that. But now I want to create that stitched edge all the way around this panel. So I'm just going to put it right back in that die that we used before. And I'm just going to hold it in place with a little bit of the purple tape. And I'm making sure I have enough on here so that it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to run that back through my die cutting machine. And again, this is why we didn't want the paper underneath to be too thick. Now you can see I have that beautiful border all the way around the card. So now using the Lawn Fawn Pixie Dust paper, this is a 100-pound glitter paper, which is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to use this fancy scallop rectangle stackable die, and I'm going to use the largest one. And I'm going to go ahead and run that glitter paper through my die cut machine. And now I'm just using my pick tool just to poke out all those little pieces there. And you can see how beautiful that die is. Now I'm just going to attach these two panels together using my Lawn Fawn double-sided tape. This is a 1/4 inch tape. I'm placing enough of it on here to hold everything in place, and then I'm just going to peel off the backing and stick this to that scallopy panel. And I just want to make sure that it's perfectly centered on there. So now that we have that all set, I'm going to take the sticky note paper from Lawn Fawn. That's the color sticky note. And we're going to cut this an 8.5 by 11 sheet at 4 1/4 by 11. And I am using my We Are Memory Keepers trim and scoreboard. And you can see there, I want that raised panel when I go to score so that I can butt the paper right up in that corner. And this bone folder is right in the unit itself. It's stored down at the bottom. And now I'm just going to score at 5 1/2. And then I am going back to my Lawn Fawn bone folder just to press out that crease because it is a Teflon bone folder. And on this heavy duty cardstock, I find that it works a little bit better. So now we have a standard A2 size card, which is going to open from the side. It would be the same exact thing as a top folding card, but we're going to turn it on its side. So now I'm removing the backing from the tape. I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Now using the fancy scallop circle stackables, we're going to use that glitter paper and we're going to die cut the second largest scallop circle, and then the small stitched circle stackables, we're going to use the second largest of that. And we're using blue and green speckles paper from the Spiffy Speckles Petite Paper Pack. And we're going to go ahead and run those through our die cutting machine. So now we have the blue and the green, and they have that beautiful stitch border and then that scallopy glitter paper. So I'm just going to glue this. The blue one is going to be for our sky, so I'm going to glue that onto the scallop circle. And I did use glue here just to make sure I had a little time to make sure it was centered. So now we're going to take the little picket fence border, and we also need the border to do the grass, the stitched hillsides border. And we want to make sure that we select the border that matches that fence. And they will line up perfectly. So now we're going to create the grass and the fence. So I'm going to attach the stitched hillside border to my green circle, and just about maybe like a third of the way up. And then I'm going to die cut a white panel of cardstock. And then I'm going to run those through my machine. Now the white one, the reason I die cut the white one is because we're going to create the picket fence out of this. So I wanted to have that stitched edge all the way around. So I die cut the circle. Now we're lining up the fence with that grassy border, and they should line up perfectly. I'm running that through my machine, and now you can see we have the picket fence border with the stitched edge all the way around, and it lines up perfectly with the grassy border. So now we can go ahead and glue all of those pieces together. And I'm just using my glue tube here to glue everything down. And again, the glue gives me a little time to line everything up, and I'm adding a little bit of glue at the top of each of those little pickets on the fence, just to make sure that nothing pops up. And now again, you can see that that stitched edge goes all the way around. So now I'm going to take that little chick from the Get Well Before and After set and the matching dies, and then I'm going to take that little butterfly net and a couple of those butterflies from the Butterfly Kisses set, and again the matching dies. Now using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock and my VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp these little images. I'm just putting them on an acrylic block here just to stamp them quickly. And I am going to stamp quite a few of the little butterflies. In the end, I did use about 5 of them. So now I'm going to attach the coordinating dies with some purple tape. And I did cut those down to size so that they would fit in my little Sizzix Sidekick machine here. And I'm going to go ahead and run those through. Now, to color, I'm going to use Wild Honey and Mustard Seed. And these are the Distress markers from Tim Holtz. And I'm also using my water brush from Tim Holtz. I'm going to start off with my lightest color here, and these are a water-based marker. I'm just going to start off with the lighter yellow, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of the darker yellow. Just kind of where I think it would be the darkest, and I did decide to come back in with a little bit more of that lighter color. And then I'm going to use the water brush, just making sure it's clean, and then I'm going to just pull those two colors together. And I didn't spend a lot of time on this little guy, just quickly blended it. It was really, really simple to do. And I wasn't even worried about the little beak because we are going to be coloring that in kind of an orangey tone. So don't worry about going right over that. And then using the Tattered Rose, I added a little pink to the cheeks. And I went ahead and blended that out as well, but a little later you'll see that I didn't think it was quite pink enough, so I'll show you here in a second. So using the Carved Pumpkin color, I just quickly did the little beak. And then here's the Worn Lipstick. Here's where I decided it just wasn't quite pink enough, so I came in with that color and just added a little bit more pink to the cheeks there. And just a little bit more blending until I get it exactly the way I want it. And now for this little butterfly net, I'm coming in with the Tumbled Glass, which is a really, really light blue, a really pretty blue. And I'm just adding a little bit of it up towards the top of the net there. And what I did here was I added the water with my water brush, but then you'll see that I'm going to come in with a little bit of a paper towel and I'm going to blot off quite a bit of the color. And you'll see why here as we go along. So you can hardly see what I've done here, but you will see it later. So now taking the wild honey, I'm going to add a little bit there to the handle of the little net there and around the net, the opening of the net, and then I'm just blending that out. And again, I'm going to do a little blotting there. And I decided to dry it off because it was getting a little bit wet. So you can always dry it off and start over, because I did decide to come in with the Tumbled Glass, and what I wanted to do is create the look of a net. So I'm going to do some little cross hatch marks here just to kind of make it look like a net. And it's very light, but at the end you will be able to see this a little bit better. And so I'm just going one way and then I'm going the other way. And it does add a lot to it, I thought. I thought it was worth the time to do. And then I'm adding a little bit more of that blue inside the net and blending it out. And then coming back in with a few those yellows again, just to add a little more depth around the opening of that net there. So I'm going to try to show you here, and I'm not sure you can see it, but a little later on you will be able to see it a little bit better. So now I have the little chick and the net all done. Now with the mustard seed, the carved pumpkin, and the worn lipstick, I'm just using those three colors, and I'm going to color in my butterflies. I'm using the yellow first, then a little bit of that carved pumpkin color, and then the worn lipstick on the very tips of the butterfly's wings. And then simply taking my water brush and blending those out. I kind of wanted to get a little bit of a watercolory kind of a look there, so. But anything here would be fine. You could add some polka dots if you want, but I just decided to keep these fairly simple. And I did all of them the exact same way. So now I'm going back to the card here, and I'm putting it in my Misty Stamp Positioner, because now I want to stamp my little saying before I get too much further. Now I just want to determine approximately where it's going to be, so I'm going back to the Butterfly Kisses set, and I'm using the saying that says fluttering by to say, and then the word hi. And these are two separate sets of stamps, so I'm just going to combine them here. And I'm just fussing with it a little bit on my Misty just to kind of put a little curve in that saying, just to line up with the curve on the paper beneath it. And then once I have that where I wanted it, I'm going to ink it up with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink and stamp that. So now that I have my sentiment in place, I can go ahead and start to put the card together. I'm going back to my double stick tape, and I'm going to place that all over the back of this scallop circle. I'm just removing the backing, and then I'm going to stick that down. Now I'm going to add the little chick and the net, and I wanted to pop these two up. So I'm taking a little bit of my Scotch foam mounting tape, and I'm just going to put a little piece of it on the back of this little chick here, and a couple little pieces on the back of that net. And I wanted to try to show you there, I think you can see a little bit better the little crosshatch marks on the net there. And again, I thought that just added a little more interest to it. So now I'm going to take my little butterflies and I'm just pressing down in the center of each one just to pop them up a little bit. And then I'm only going to put glue down the center of each of those butterflies and attach those to my card. And I did decide to use 5. It is best to use odd numbers, 3, 5, 7. It just makes it's more appealing to the eye when you do that. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want these to be. And I thought the butterflies added a little pop of color here. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and this is the crystal clear one, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glitter to each of those butterflies. And then with my Nouveau glaze, this is the crystal clear glaze, I'm going to just add a little bit of glaze to his beak. And that's just going to give like a shiny, glossy look to the beak. And here you can see the card up close with all the beautiful glitter paper and how cute that little chick is. But I also wanted to show you a couple of cards I made, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, I'm not exactly sure. And I just used some scrap papers that I had left over from Lawn Fawn. I will list all of the products I used today down below, as well as these products. But here I used some of the pastel colors, and you can see how different it looks. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. Thank you so much for visiting and have a great day. Bye-bye.